Go join your friends, you wiggles.
Are you good? Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hey, You Guys, the ever popular podcast on pop culture of the 80s and 90s by two dudes who lived through them. I'm your host, Jeffrey Mack, joined as always by the Corey Feldman to my Corey Haim, Mr. Scott Boyd. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about 1990, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about movies. So, Boyd, it's nice to be back, sort of recording. I know it's been a while. I've been out and about gallivanting across this planet Earth. So I've been on airplanes, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and yeah, it's good to be home. And it's interesting in that I was in Miami last week for work, which was wonderful. I didn't realize it was actually spring break, so it was a bit of a scene. I guess maybe that's always a scene in South Beach, but great weather. I was able to sit by a pool. I was able to drink by a pool. I was able to go in a pool, and then I came back home where it was much colder, and now I actually feel like I have a cold, which I guess is par for the course. But besides that, I'm happy to be back. What's new with you, Boyd?
Actually, biggest news in my household is we got a puppy.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. Congrats.
We thank you. We have a 13-year-old dog who has plenty of life left. But my 3-year-old twins are potty trained, and I think that my wife just got bored and now she wants to potty train something else. I really do think that, with the stock market down, with the housing market inflated, and, we're not doing a lot of home projects and we're not going to buy a house or anything, that my wife just got bored. So we got this little chocolate lab puppy. His name is Benny the Jet Rodriguez Boyd. And very on brand, right? I hit the nail on the head with that one. I thought the kids, kids love him. Kids love the name. They're big Sandlot fans, and
Nice.
That's a lot going on here at the Boyd household. But I am really pumped to be spinning with you, Jeff.
Yeah, no, likewise. So yeah, so for this episode, we've sort of done one of these episodes in the past, but what I think is really interesting is that I actually seen another podcast I was listening to sort of do these draft episodes, and they went along pretty nicely. So when you and I were sort of talking about this episode before, I sort of sprung this on you a few days ago, and I was like, hey, let's do a movie draft. It's fun. And then I literally randomly picked a date. I was like, let's just do 1990. We can start in the first year of probably one of the best decades. And as I was doing research, I don't know if this was a shock to you as well, and hopefully you didn't do your research and I can draft all the good movies, but dude, 1990 was a baller year for movies. There's some real quality that came out that year.
It is. I was pleasantly surprised for sure. And I asked you why you chose it, and you just said, I kind of picked it at random. And my thought, which, kind of makes sense as we kind of hit the middle between the 80s and the 90s. You hit 1990 exactly. And you see what happens. Definitely pleasantly surprised with some of these titles for sure.
Cool. So for everybody listening, it's going to be like an old-fashioned draft. What we'll do is we'll flip a coin. I think Boyd's going to do a live analog flip of a coin, and
or is there?
We'll just do back and forth. We'll do 5 rounds, and then and then I think we just do like a 6th supplemental pick that could just be a fun choice. So we'll go back and forth, and I don't know, Boyd. In my mind, I guess there's 2 ways to sort of strategize around your draft. It could either be just trying to accumulate the consensus best movies of the year, or should we be drafting based on our personal love of the movies?
So this is my thought, is it should be more of a personal thing, because we can just Google best at the box office.
I don't want to pick Godfather Part 3. I'm giving you maybe I do want to pick it. Maybe I'm just trying to trick you. But all right, yeah, I'm game, man. Do you have a coin?
All right, so I went to a website called justflipacoin.com, you're gonna
Brilliant.
choose heads or tails.
Well,
And
I
will flip
cannot
this
see your
coin.
screen, so I'm gonna have to trust you.
Yeah, hold on. No. That's fine. That's fine. I got this. I'll share screen. That's fine.
Okay.
Which I
We're
think
fancy.
which I think we should. I think that makes more sense. 1, 2, 3, share. Okay, great podcasting here. Okay, now you pick heads or tails. I'm going to click this, and then it's going to flip. Watch, you'll do watch a test one. I click this little button, and then it flips, and it tells you what it is. So you
all right. I'm gonna pick tails.
Okay, now I'm going to click 3, 2, 1. Yes, yes, it came up heads. It came up heads. Bees.
I'm pretty sure I know what your first pick's going to be. So
As
let's
you
do it, man.
Let's just do it. Might as well just jump right into it. The number 1 pick in the 1990s movies draft is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is no shock to anyone, absolutely. But it came out in 1990. It was just an absolute rock star of a film. My kids and I and my wife, we watch it all the time. Even at this point, everybody loves it. And it was really the start of, I shouldn't say start. No, it was taking the amazing franchise just to the next level. And it's a killer movie.
Yeah. So I was so sure that was going to be your pick. It's not even on my draft board. So, I actually, I knew you were going to pick it. I didn't know if you were going to go number 1. I was pretty sure you were going to go number 1, but there was another movie that I thought you were going to take number 1.
Interesting.
And I actually have it number 2 on my draft board, but strategically, I feel like I should just take it now. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to actually flip the order of which I was thinking I was going to draft here, and hope that you don't steal my number 1. I don't know now, but I feel like you might steal my number 1. All right, I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna take probably what's the consensus number 1 if we were to actually pull our audience. So I'll take Home Alone. Home Alone will be my number 1, my number 1 pick.
That's your number. That's your number 1, or that's what you thought that my number 1 would be?
I thought you would have a toss-up between Home Alone and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So I contemplated picking Home Alone, hoping that you wouldn't take Turtles number 1 overall and not steal my pick. But it's just better for the brand to go with it. Yeah. And yes, of course, Home Alone is easy.
So yeah, I'll take Home Alone. It's an easy pick. It's a classic. There's other movies that I like more than Home Alone on this draft on this draft board, but I'm going to try to be strategic in addition to choosing movies that I like. So I'll take Kevin McAllister off the board with pick number 2 of our 1990 movie draft.
Sure, and that's good. I mean, it can't go wrong. It's probably the number 1 overall, if consensus. But what we'll do is we'll put up a poll on Instagram, a poll on Twitter, and you guys will have to weigh in to see, and we'll see what who wins the draft, who had the best draft of all. So with my number 2 pick, I actually do think it gets a little bit tougher after that. I thought that those were really, really clear, number 1 and number 2, but I'm going to take Goodfellas with my number 2 pick. Goodfellas was the Italian mob, gangster movie that I wanted Godfather to be. I remember watching Godfather and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I get it. But then I watched Goodfellas and I was like, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I think Goodfellas is the Godfather of our generation. Like, I think that's the best way to sum it up, really.
Sure. Yeah. Great point.
Yeah. Great movie. I had it on my list. I was going to choose it. My 3rd pick was going to be Goodfellas. So not the next pick, but my actual 3rd pick. But that's a great choice. I mean, there's some killer acting. If you want to talk about a movie that just shows how good an actor can be, look no further than Goodfellas. It's a great movie. I think it's long. It doesn't feel long.
And we all know most of those Italian actors, but it was the first time I saw Ray Liotta
Yeah.
And just, and obviously amazing performance. And again, it was just what I wanted in a gangster movie to be.
Yeah. Was it Sharon Stone that played the female lead?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, with the fur. Great movie. Awesome. All right, my pick. So the fourth pick in the 1990 movie draft is going to be Edward Scissorhands.
Yep.
Edward Scissorhands is
right there
one
on
of
my
my
list.
personal favorites of all time. It was the movie that really introduced me and solidified my love of Tim Burton.
Sure.
Also, fantastic Johnny Depp performance in that movie.
Amazing, truly amazing.
Yeah,
and it's awkwardly dark.
Oh yeah, totally awkwardly dark, somewhat comedic, partially a drama. But for me, the Tim Burton aesthetic just is what stands out. I mean, I think production design, which is something that I don't think a lot of people look at when they watch a movie, is top notch on Edward Scissorhands. I mean, just looking at the scenes of the suburban neighborhood and sort of the monotony of what's going on there, and everybody, all of the fathers leaving the house at the same time, driving to work, and it's just really this image of suburban America, classic love story, great character development. It's just almost a near perfect movie in my mind. So Edward Scissorhands off the board, pick number 4.
Great point. So that's pick number 4. So we're gonna do 10. After 5, I'm gonna take a quick intermission because I just want to, I'll bring it up now. So after 4, what I thought was interesting about the research here, 1990 had a shit ton of sequels.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
An obnoxious amount of sequels, which kind of blew me away. And I was like, this is crazy. Never Ending Story 2, RoboCop 2, Predator 2, Godfather 3, you mentioned, Die Hard 2, Child's Play 2. I mean, it was just chock full. But I guess that kind of goes with our understanding of how awesome movies were in the 80s and 90s, because they just wanted to have sequels because the franchises were just so strong.
Yeah, it's no different. I mean, people are saying today's sort of cinematic universe, no pun intended, when you're talking about Marvel, but it's like studios are less willing to take risk on greenlighting specific movies, and that they're more likely to take a safer bet and just produce sequels, right, or produce franchise. But when you actually look at 1990, to your point, it's a ton of sequels. So it's not like this is a new thing, right? This is something that's been going on. I think we're just, instead of pumping out part 2s and part 3s today, we're just pumping out franchises, right? So it seems less like a sequel, but it's really the same thing. But yeah, I noticed that as well when I was sort of going through the list of stuff. I was like, there are a lot of sequels that have come out. And there was another observation that I saw that I'll touch base on after a few more picks.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go. 5. All right, number 5. So my third movie choice, which I'm going to choose right now as we're talking. There's a couple good ones. Nothing that really jumps out at me. So I am going to, I'm going to say, I'm going to go a little bit on the, no, you know what? I'm going to go with Back to the Future 3.
Oh,
so
stolen.
So great. So again, it's a big deal. And I guess this is where I should have done my little diatribe. But again, taking an awesome franchise and moving it down the road with a sequel, and it was an odd sequel, but very enjoyable for sure.
Yeah, agreed. I think as a franchise, Back to the Future is amazing. I would say that I loved Back to the Future 3. I think it was probably the weakest of the trilogy.
Yeah, and I agree.
by far. But it was still a lovable movie. I still really enjoyed it.
Yep. Same.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Go back to the Old West, like such an odd.
yeah,
It seemed odd. It's kind of like in my mind, Ninja Turtles 3, also
right.
extremely weak in the franchise, but you can't just make another one of the same thing.
Right.
2 can be another one of the same thing because it's different story, same different, same story, different day. But then you have for the third one, you kind of have to go a little off the wall to keep the interest. And Back to the Future 3, instead of they go back in time first, they go forward in time, and then they go back kind of way back, which is a very interesting take, and it does keep your attention, and it is enjoyable for sure.
Yep. No, definitely. So my pick. I'll do my diatribe first because it actually leads into the pick. So, in addition to noticing that there were tons of sequels in that particular year, I also noticed that it was sort of the year of obscure genre films. And what I mean by that is that there were some like random genres that had multiple films released that year, which was, I remember being sort of this thing that happened in the 80s and 90s. So, as an example, one of the movies, this is not going to be one of my picks, but there was a movie called Side Out that sort of fit that genre of beach volleyball movies, right? Which is so strange. There was
Sure.
multiple beach volleyball movies that were released. I think Side Out being probably the best of that genre. But that's one example. Another example is that in 1990, the movie Lambada came out, which was about this like sexy dance. And another movie called Lambada: The Forbidden Dance was released the same year. So again, they take these really obscure, bizarre things, and they're like, you know what? It's like a race to release. Like multiple studios are like, we're gonna do a movie on Lambada, which is a dance style that I actually like wanted to learn because it was the forbidden dance and it was this erotic dance style. All of that. Another genre too is the ski patrol or the skiing genre. So in 1990, you had Ski Patrol, which is a great, great, great movie. And then you had Ski School, basically a clone of each other. So
Right.
it was like these genres sort of picked up, and they're obscure, right? And they made multiple movies around it. So that
Is that
leads me to
similar?
yep.
So is that similar to like the Ants versus Bugs Life, the Disney
Yeah,
thing in
totally,
the mid 90s? Yeah.
totally. Totally, yeah. So that leads me to my pick. So my next pick. So similar to how Back to the Future sort of jumped on the Western train, right? Because those were fairly popular at that point. My next pick is going to be, and this is pick number 6. It's going to be Young Guns 2. Young Guns 2, awesome movie. It made me become like a fanatical Billy the Kid Wild West fan. There's a
Wow.
there's a theme park
Interesting.
here in New Jersey that I believe is still open, believe it or not. I actually tried to have my 40th birthday there, but they went out of business for a brief few weeks. But it's called Wild West City, and I remember as a kid going to Wild West City. It is like a Wild West like city, legit, like with the main street and a cast of cowboys that run around, and shootouts take place. It's really cool. I was really into cowboys and westerns. So I'm going to take Young Guns 2, which also had a killer cast.
Wow. Awesome.
And if you've not seen Young Guns 2, Boyd,
I have not.
you should definitely watch Young Guns 2. It's amazing.
Should I watch Young Guns 1?
You should absolutely watch Young Guns 1. It's phenomenal. It's probably a little bit before your time when you were a kid, but I think you will love it and appreciate it now.
Delta Force 2, Another 48 Hours, Rocky 4. There's so many. So many. Okay. So for my 4th pick, before I make my 4th pick, I am going to say that I found that there are some kinks in my armor. I think kinks in the armor is the right term. Basically some cracks, some things that fell through the cracks when it came to me watching movies that came out in 1990, because there are some titles here that I feel like I saw or I should have seen that I just didn't, and I feel really badly. You know what? I'm not going to say it. I'll say that I'll say the actual ones at the end. But I found that a little almost upsetting. And now after this, I am absolutely going to go back and watch like 6 or 8 movies, I swear. So let me go with an absolute classic that might take you, it might be you may think that this is a blind spot in my eyes, coming from a lot of the things that we talk about, but I'm going to take the movie Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman was a really, really good movie.
Really good movie. But the strange thing, sorry to cut you off, because I had that on my list as well. The weird thing about Pretty Woman to me, it was that clearly it was an adult movie. Yet I've probably seen that movie 100 times as a, I was 11 years old when it came out, and I swear that I saw it when it came out.
Really?
So it's weird. It's very much an adult movie that I feel like every kid from the 80s and 90s has seen a million times.
So I'm coming at this from I only watched the movie because I had a girlfriend, strap me to a chair and keep my eyes open, making sure that I watched it because it was her favorite flick. And then I realized, hey, this isn't half bad. And since then I've watched it a number of times. It's awesome. Not a huge Richard Gere fan, but it's really,
movie. He's very good.
He's really good in the movie. Sandra Bullock is great. She's really, really funny, which is not something I expected. And she doesn't look bad in hooker clothes either.
No, not Sandra Bullock. That would be Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Yeah.
Julia Roberts.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
No worries.
Correct.
Cool. I like that movie. Was not on my list. So for my last 2 picks, I'm going to pick one movie that is by all accounts a horrendously bad movie that I think is effing brilliant. But I'll pick that one last. So for my second to last pick, this might be a controversial pick. I'm gonna go DuckTales the movie. So,
wow! Oh,
yes,
that is literally
on. Do you remember DuckTales the movie? It was amazing.
It's my children watched it 2 days ago. I put it on for them.
It's basically just a really long bunch of episodes strung together, but it's the best story arc of DuckTales, I think, by far.
It's great. No, it's awesome. I have it listed on my list as Dark Horse because I thought that it was just something I was going to mention at the end. Hey, you know what's really underrated? Check out DuckTales. Great, oh, great pick. It's funny.
Great, and it's funny because I'm trying to get my kids into DuckTales because, like, as a kid, that was, besides G.I. Joe, I was a little older when DuckTales was around. I think DuckTales was the best cartoon on TV, to be completely honest. It was brilliant, and I keep trying to think and strategize how to get them interested in it. And I think the best way to get them interested in DuckTales is to have them start with DuckTales the movie, which is the ultimate adventure. They go after the lamp. I mean, they're in temples. Like it's great.
It's like an Aladdin, kind of an Aladdin-esque adventure. It's awesome.
Cool.
Wow.
So your last pick now. This is your last pick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was gonna go with a movie that had some more acclaim, but I'm not going to because I think it would be a little ingenuine. There's a side note, there's a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, even.
I actually did not know that there was a sequel to
maybe it's not. So it came out, or never mind. It's like, maybe it's just like this little episode.
Is it the little episode with the baby?
Roller Coaster Rabbit, it's called. I was like, why is this even here?
That's probably a short, but that was before.
Yeah, it's probably a short. Imagine. Okay. So I am going to take I'm going to go with it. I'm going to pander a little bit, and it's not even that much pandering. But I'm going to go with a completely different genre to see if I can capture some hearts out there in the crowd. But I'm going to take the movie Lionheart. So you
Is that the
made
Van Damme movie?
Yes. So you basically made me watch this for the for our kung fu fighting episode,
Yeah.
and I kind of liked it. And I thought that it was very classic. It was very classic 80s, 90s kung fu, karate movie. So I'm gonna have my honorable mention / my slip through the crack list, and I'm already embarrassed about it. So I'm gonna pick Lionheart here, which I think is a little controversial, but it was enjoyable, and Van Damme's a GD badass.
Yeah, no, I think that was one of the other observations from just looking at the movies that were released. There were a bunch of sort of the subpar Van Damme movies. I think there was two or three, and then there was like two or three Steven Seagal movies released in
Yes.
that one year, and I was just like,
Yes.
wow, they must have been Ken. Interesting thing about Van Damme. So earlier this evening, my 3-year-old Benson, he's like really into breakdancing for some reason. So I think I had like a Break Into Electric Boogaloo on TV, one of the dance scenes, because he tries to mimic. His new thing is trying to learn how to spin on his head. As
He's
a parent,
3.
I should probably tell him not to do it, but I just think it's hilarious, so we let him spin on his head. But what was really interesting is that we're watching the dance battle scene on the beach. I noticed in the background there, there's some extras behind that are sort of just, you know, moving back and forth and clapping as the dance
Bobbing
battle is taking
along.
place. And there's one extra or one person in the background that looks vaguely familiar. And I'm like, wait a second. It is Jean-Claude Van Damme. He is in the background of the movie
What?
wearing a spandex tank top biker short ensemble, and dancing. It was very strange to see, and I remember seeing the infamous Jean-Claude Van Damme dancing GIF, the animated GIF. I just didn't have any context where they came from, but it looks like it came from Break Into Electric Boogaloo. So yeah, so that was what we saw earlier. So no, that was a good pick. Good movie. If you haven't seen Lionheart, you should definitely check it out. So for me, my last pick, this is going to be the movie that's universally known as a terrible, terrible movie, but it's a movie that means a lot to me. And it's a movie that is actually so bad that I think it's great. And I love turning people onto this movie because a lot of the times when I talk about this movie, people have never heard of it, they've never seen it. And then they go and watch it and they come back to me and just are at a loss of words. So this may be the case for you, Boyd. But my final pick in the draft is going to be a movie called Troll 2.
Yeah.
So
And Troll
2,
3, I'm pretty sure Troll 3 also came out the same year, by the way.
it's very, very possible. But the Troll 2, this family goes on a road trip somewhere. They end up stranded outside this town called Nilbog. The people of this town, Nilbog, are very strange. What ends up happening is that there's a weird witch that turns people into trees. The people in the town are actually goblins because Nilbog, spelled backwards, is goblin.
Goblin. Yeah.
So if you've not seen Troll 2, just go watch it. It is amazing. It's low budget, very, very low budget. I think the director was foreign and didn't speak English, which is apparent when you see the direction that was given to the actors. Some of the worst acting performances I've ever seen, some of the worst special effects that I've ever seen. But overall, just a tremendously amazing movie. My final pick, Troll 2. So,
Awesome.
boy, you need to go watch it if you've not seen it. You have to do it.
I have not. So that's on my list. So not only that, I am mad at myself, and you guys are gonna just yell at your podcast app. But man, I have to bring this to light because I feel like I'm living a lie. There are some movies that we haven't mentioned on this list that need their due because they're probably good. But
Probably
they've just slipped through the cracks of my life, and I'm a little upset by it. So I will tell you the movies that I am going to go watch ASAP are as follows. And they start with Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, Kindergarten Cop is amazing.
Is really good, right?
Yeah. You know
Okay.
what? For some reason, I didn't know that was 1990, or else I may have picked that.
So I wanted to pick that because I was pretty sure it was really good, but I don't remember watching it. So
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Right. That's from that movie. Right.
Yep.
Again, I felt not genuine. So that Ghost Dad.
Yeah, I have Ghost Dad listed. I was going to bring up as something that was awesome as a kid. It probably is a terrible movie if we were to rewatch it now, but it was awesome back then. And are we allowed to watch it because it's Bill Cosby? I mean, maybe we're not allowed to watch it anymore.
Right. I don't know. Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
Days of Thunder.
I'm just not a NASCAR fan in any way. So
is that what it is? So my mom, my dad liked it growing up. Because my dad likes NASCAR and my mom likes Tom Cruise, and it kind of worked out. But it kind of, I don't know, it going back, I'm like, I probably should have seen it, and it did really well in the box office, and yada yada yada.
Oh, it was a huge movie, and I don't know if this is going to be on your list, but Problem Child. Do you remember Problem Child with John Ritter?
That was the next one.
Yeah,
next one on my list. Yep, same thing.
That was a great movie. It's sort of like a modern day Dennis the Menace.
That's my understanding, and again, I missed it through the cracks, and I'm mad at myself. House Parties on my list.
Yeah, so that was gonna be one of my sleeper picks. Kid and Play. Who doesn't love Kid and Play? Great movie.
Right, like that. I don't know. I need to do that. Also, Men at Work. Have you seen Men at Work?
Charlie Sheen, right?
Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez.
Yep, the Garbage Man, I believe. I think.
Yeah, Garbage Man. Right.
Yep,
right.
Funny movie.
And I feel like I've seen it, but I didn't totally recall it. And speaking of, also Total Recall.
The only thing I remember about Total Recall is the girl that had 3 boobs.
Is that from that movie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's from that movie. 3 boob chick. It's funny the things that you remember from movies.
Yeah, well, a movie that I did remember, but I didn't really like because I'm not into horror-ish movies, is Arachnophobia. It was on my list because I'm pretty sure it's good. And scary, just not a huge fan. But speaking of horror movies, I haven't seen It.
The original It.
Was
that 1990?
It's on this list.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't
I would say if you're gonna do, this list of movies that you should see, I mean, It was scary. A movie that I remember loving as a child was a movie called Misery, which I believe was also 1990. That was also a Stephen King movie about an obsessive fan of a novelist who essentially tortures and keeps them captive. So highly recommend watching Misery.
Right. And I think we said we weren't going to watch Neverending Story 2.
No.
I did watch it.
I've seen it. We watched it. I
have watched Die Hard 2. It was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Doesn't
compare to the original. A movie that is actually from 1990 that I don't want to say that it was a great movie, but I do want to say that it was a very important movie. Was a movie called Slacker, which I think a lot of people sort of say it was the movie that sort of started the indie film movement. Influential for Robert Rodriguez, for Kevin Smith, for even Quentin Tarantino. So Slacker came out in 1990. Definitely worth a watch, I'd say.
So I saw that. So is there a movie called Slackers? Yes, there is. 2002 film.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. So I've seen Slackers, and I have not seen Slacker.
Yeah, Slacker, I think, is if you're a movie person, it's required reading. It's like something that you need to sort of watch in terms of just a low budget indie film that really set the stage for this idea of being able to produce independent films.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I touched on the ski genre films. House Party reminds me of sort of so I guess the question would be, would there be Kid and Play movies if there weren't Fat Boy movies, right? Like Disorderlies, right? Like right. I feel like they exist because of each other. Disorderlies is a great movie. I don't think that was 1990. Definitely worth watching. But yeah, no, it was a surprisingly great year of movies.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good draft. I think we picked sort of all the movies that were worth picking. And it'll be really interesting to sort of do more of these episodes when we pick 1991, for example. Off the top of my mind, I couldn't tell you what came out, but I bet you 91 was probably also a pretty fantastic year.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Cool. So Boyd, I think we're good to go. 1990, thumbs up or thumbs down from a movie standpoint.
Good job, 1990.
2 thumbs up. Yeah, great year. So yeah, everybody, thanks a lot for listening. We'll put this up on Instagram to see if you agree or disagree with our picks. Also, let us know if there's any movies from 1990 that we missed out on. So subscribe, listen, give us a shout out, follow us on Instagram at Hey You Guys Podcast, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.
Later.
Come on, baby, show me the town. I didn't know that you'd be such a short fish.